All right. Stan is a particularly tough act to follow for moderation. You're going to have to bear with me. He is really eloquent. So, to give you a little background on me, I'm a director of gaming at IMC. They're a brand experience studio. I've been working in gaming and esports from the marketing side for in and around 15 years. And way back, I was a competitive gamer for Counter-Strike. But we won't, don't do the numbers. So we'll jump right into it. Esports competitions and venues have changed an awful lot since the days that I got involved. I mean, we have almost pop-up style venues to collegiate esports growing with the Full Sail University venue existing this year. And then, of course, we have the Philly Fusion Arena breaking ground at the end of the month. So I'll just jump right in here and let you guys quickly introduce yourselves. Tell us who you are, what you do, and what got you into this space. Jud, you want to start?
Okay. I'm Jud Hannigan. I'm the CEO of Allied Esports. So I spent most of my career working in China for about 11 years, and as a consultant in the sports and entertainment field, largely helping Western brands and entertainment properties come into that market. One of them was World Poker Tour, which eventually got acquired by a Chinese game company, which was really my avenue into the space in general. And that game company was called Our Game. They'd made an investment into China's largest internet cafe operator, and that's what really propelled us as esports continued to rise over the last several years to go out and build a network of dedicated esports properties, ultimately to generate content and now provide interactive services as well.
Great.
And my name is Jonathon Oudthone. I'm the president of eSports Venues. We are the company that worked directly with the city of Arlington to build eSports Stadium Arlington, which is the largest dedicated eSports facility in North America. A little bit about myself. I actually got involved with eSports back before I even knew what the term eSports was, probably in about 2000. I was a fan and competitor in StarCraft originally. It wasn't actually until about 2009 that I actually got involved with the industry. I really started out as a professional player for Street Fighter. Needless to say, that didn't quite work out well for me, but I'm here and I'm thankful to be a part of this space.
Great, I feel you there. So if you could kind of just get into this, because both of you do fundamentally different things in the esports venue space, I really just want to give you a moment to kind of speak to your collective strengths. Jud, you want to take it?
Sure. So with Allied, we've really focused on building a complete network of infrastructure. Our first arena was in Beijing, and we expanded pretty rapidly, and now we operate on 3 continents, with a 4th coming early next year. So we're in the U.S. here. Our flagship is the HyperX eSports Arena down at Luxor. We've got 2 affiliate properties in California, plus a studio in Hamburg, Germany, and 5 arenas today in China, with a new one coming in Melbourne, Australia, early next year.
Great.
So, but the key there is just, it's how we program them all together, really building programming, content experiences that ultimately lead and drive people to our championship destination right here in Las Vegas.
Cool. Jonathon?
Yeah, so our model really focuses on mostly getting events to come into the venue, right? It's a traditional model that the city of Arlington's pretty used to. So when we designed and built it, we built it dedicated for esports, right? When you step into this facility, you can take a look at it and automatically know that everything here was built not only for large esports events, but growing the local community. So when you come into our facility, you notice we have a large stage, we have production facilities, we even have team area and spaces that can facilitate some of the largest esports events that happen. And one of my personal favorites, which is our gaming center, which is really focused on growing the core local gaming community. We work directly with a lot of ISDs in the area in Dallas-Fort Worth, as well as some of the universities. So that's really our model and our major focus, but the biggest thing for us is mostly bringing in events externally that bring in and drive traffic and revenue for the city.
Great. What, if anything, has really changed for your venues in the last year as things just continue to pop up across the country? I mean, there's been any learnings? Has it helped you develop your roadmap going into 2020?
Sure. I think two things for us have changed. One is, when we set out, we called ourselves an esports company, and now we call ourselves an esports entertainment company. The propensity and prolific reach of streaming has really played a part in what we do and how we program some of our spaces. Our most successful event was with Ninja here in Las Vegas, where we give somebody of his caliber, and it was before he's at his caliber today, and having given the opportunity to headline the Las Vegas Strip, it was pretty powerful. It was a powerful experience for the fans, the 2.5 million that watched that night, but also the 800 that showed up that night, and also for him. So that in its own right is of interest. The other angle to that question really is how we plan to grow. There's a lot of interest. We've recently partnered with Simon Property Group as the traditional retail environments are really evolving into more experiential destinations. And so we've got significant partners like that that we're growing and building out esports and entertainment experiences into their existing infrastructure.
Yeah, for us, it was really mentioned in the last panel, the industry is constantly changing, right? So one key factor that we built in when we designed our facility is the ability to stay modular, right? To be able to adapt easily without being stuck with specific infrastructure. That goes along to say the fact that we don't have dedicated built-in stadium riser seating, right? Because we wouldn't be able to host an open tournament format, which is pretty prominent in esports, right? So we have flexible seating, things like that. We take a look at what other communities are doing in the marketplace, and we try to adapt to that, because one day you have a game title that's going to be very popular, and the next day you're going to have one that's not. You have new leagues that are popping up, et cetera, and they all have specific requirements that you have to adhere to in order to host those events, right? So for us, it's being able to transition from a 6v6 Overwatch stage to a 60-man to 100-man battle royale format, right? It's being able to stay on top of that and adapt on a daily basis, as well as still serving the local community, which is always going to be important.
Okay. Jud, can you walk us a little bit through your relationship with HyperX and how that partnership has really evolved?
Sure. So HyperX is our naming rights partner here in Las Vegas, but also it's a pretty strategic relationship with us. I'm not sure if anybody's here, Wendy, if you're here in the audience, but we couldn't be happier with the partner we have in there. When we went out to seek naming rights, there was a lot of interest and from a wide group of brands, but choosing somebody that was endemic to the space was really important to us. And HyperX, not only are they one of the leading peripheral brands and vendors out there, but they are specifically, they partner up with talent. And so for us, the way our relationship with them has evolved, in addition to the naming rights, but it's this events and ways for us to get high caliber talent into our buildings to ultimately generate live experiences. And we do that not just here in Las Vegas, but we do that on our mobile truck solutions, which I probably didn't mention earlier, but we have a couple of 18-wheel semi-trucks that are like Optimus Prime on steroids. They open up into arenas on wheels and broadcast functionality. But we do that with HyperX and Activate really all across Europe and all across North America to really create these enhanced experiences that ultimately drive impact.
Awesome. Jonathon, how do you see and how do you want brands to interact with your venues? That's
a really good question. So we strategically have to pick our partners just as much as Jud does, right? I mean, with us, we rely heavily on third parties coming in and utilizing our space, which naturally, in the events business, someone like an ESL or a Faceit or a Psyonix or a Nintendo, they're going to be running their own leagues, their own events, which comes with their own sponsors, right? So when you're pursuing endemic sponsors, such as a hardware partner, it actually becomes very hard to work deals with them because you rely on third-party events to come in, and they have their own sponsors, which are going to conflict, right? So we have to be very strategic about the partners, but the most important thing for us is finding partners that are going to bring in experiential elements to our facility, right? We don't just want to accept a check and put a logo on something. It's more about building out infrastructure and experiences, right? Bringing events to our facility and having some kind of a landmark that creates an unforgettable moment for people.
Great.
Just to add to that, like
Go ahead.
I couldn't agree more. It's about the events and experiences they come to. We have another partner in Newegg, where we just did an event with them this past weekend, and it just brings a fresh perspective and a different look that ultimately there's a bigger alignment, especially in our business where we're aligning with folks, and it resonates well with the communities that they're targeting and that we're targeting at the same time.
Awesome. What do you guys think the future in esports partnership really is going to start to look like around live events going forward? Anything in particular that you would like to see happen?
Through like partners like HyperX and others that we bring on. I think everybody, like, it's not just about branding and splashing your logo. It's so much more experiential. And so as we're designing properties for the future and looking at how our existing spaces evolve, it's all about that experiential moment. We have certain areas of our building here that are very much designed where you just know people are going to go in there and want to take a selfie. And if you can make that a branded moment, that's going to be impactful. And that's where in the conversations we have, brands are really looking towards how do they be a part of the fabric of those experiences. And that's how we are tasked with the challenge of designing those spaces, which continue to deliver on that.
Yeah, I mean, with esports, it's a pretty unique space because it's very technology focused, right? So bringing on partners that are technology focused, we would fully expect them to innovate and come in and promote products that they're creating or create something that can be built for esports in itself too, right? So really being able to innovate and keep ahead of the curve on things like that's important.
Awesome. I think this kind of leads into where I wanted to guide you guys. Disney World and Universal are building out these immersive digital environments, kind of a digital twist on physical play. I can't help but see how that fits into esports. How do you think that fits into this environment that you have?
I think, in a way, if you just talk about gaming for a second, it's already there, right? This digital experience in gaming is constantly evolving. That's when people talk about, traditional sports versus esports. Well, esports, it never gets old. The games are always changing. They're always improving. New games are coming on top of that. And so, in a time where we have very short attention spans, the fact that the content that we're consuming is always evolving is pretty impactful. The challenge for somebody like us is to evolve with it and be there at the forefront so that experience is changing. For us, I mean, we want to do it on a day in, day out basis, but it's a constant effort to be thinking about what is that offering that's going to ultimately draw somebody out time and time again. And for us here in Las Vegas, and I'm sure you guys in Arlington, right, it's about the community that you're building, and you don't want to ever go stale for them. You want that offering to be impactful, so you get repeat business out of it, but also, there's repeatable moments that aren't just the same, but they just happen in the same place.
I mean, naturally, esports is a pretty immersive experience in itself. It's one thing to watch from home or play from home, but to actually be in front of a 90-foot screen, lights that are flashing and going crazy, a very immersive sound system where you can feel like you're actually in the game, that's important. That's step one, right? Step two is creating additional layers on top of that, such as augmented reality, virtual reality, et cetera. We have actually built out a 2-scale replica with our partner Sansar of our venue. So if you're not actually at our facility, it's a VR space that you can join. You can see other people in the VR space, and you can pretty much, in a virtual reality kind of concept, be at the event. You see everything that's happening on the stage, et cetera, and you can tap into this directly from home if you're not at a facility. So we're constantly trying to think of ways to involve the community, to get people engaged and be immersed. Naturally, esports is a very technology hands-on thing, so it just flows pretty well anyways.
Great. So, if we can actually start to enhance the digital experiences for fans at these venues, how do you think brands can really get involved in that particular process?
As you build out the digital experience on site and really be a part of it, I think, at least the brands that we're talking to, they want to be involved in unlocking that access point. They want to be that part that that gateway that provides that experience. And if you can structure a program with them that feels right to the audience, ultimately, that's going to win. And that's always the direction we're going in. And with our partners, and it's got to be timely, too, to what's happening. Just a week and a half ago, we had a new World of Warcraft Classic come out. We did an event with HyperX. It was, as it came out that day, it was really powerful, tremendous reach, and ultimately everybody went home happy, right? And talking about it and sharing it. And ultimately, I think that's where we want to go to enhance that digital experience from the live event.
Awesome.
And with us, part of our responsibility is helping educate these brands that are coming into the space. They're constantly searching for answers. They don't quite understand what esports is or how they can really activate in the space. So for us, we're helping them identify the different types of events or streams or broadcasts or really demographics that they can touch base on. For us, you could come to a Fortnite tournament and you're going to notice that it's dominantly 80%, anyone from 9 to 13 years old of age, right? Or you can come to one of our fighting game tournaments and you have anywhere from 19 to 28 as your average age demographic, right? So working with them to educate them really what the demographics are, how the different activations actually work, and how they can actually get involved is important.
Cool. One of the things I wanted to ask both as a mom and a gamer, seeing the block parties take place and World Cup Fortnite and that festivalization of esports, the idea that I can take my kid there for an experience rather than going to Disney World, and what that looks like for the future. Is that something that you guys are looking into for your roadmap?
Yes, you'll see an announcement shortly on something like that.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
We have some festivals that we're, as a part of our relationship with Simon Properties, activating gaming festivals and tournaments on those sites, even before we come out with venues, is a part of that roadmap, and that's something that's coming real soon. And we believe that, with everything we do, it's trial, not necessarily error, but trial and improve. And so this is a first step towards that, at least from our standpoint. How do we deploy our assets and our knowledge, our assets primarily in this case being our mobile trucks, to pop up in high traffic destinations to create these experiences that ultimately draw crowds to the property, but allow us to have that touch point in a branded environment.
Yeah, I've always liked to compare esports to sports, musical concerts, and festivals, but all combined into one, right? You're not just going to sit in a seat, watch a screen, and then leave and go home. You're coming for an experience. You're coming for other opportunities to do things, right? So a pretty recent concept that I can really put on the table is that we're working directly with the Dallas Fuel, right? It's great to have brand attribution to our facility. Working with them on their 2020 home games next year, one thing that really attracted them to us is that they could actually physically utilize our extended expo hall space, right? We have no shortage of space in our building, but they're actually to create an immersive festival environment. So this is going to be the first home game that they're going to run in the market outside of what they did early this year. And they're going to create a festival, so it's going to be very engaging. They're going to have their players interacting with a lot of their fans. They're going to have different viewing areas, vendor booths, et cetera. And this is something that is, it's a franchise team hosting a home game, but on the other side of the building, you can actually partake in a more festival environment type thing.
Great. I'm not really sure how we're doing on time, but I would love to see if we have any questions. He's just coming over for you. Yeah.
Hello. Hi, my name is Anthony Orke. I work with Gutex at Cross Counter TV. So I've actually had the experience with working with Jud at the eSports arena. So I have nothing but good things to say. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely go. But this question is kind of more focused towards like the little guy. So and I got this question from Ryan. He says, what incentives are there for local tournament organizers / influencers to host their events with professional esports venues? Like what type of things can they do to kind of bridge that gap from being like, or rather running their events at like the local arcades to wanting to build up to the bigger venues?
Yeah, so we actually work directly with a lot of grassroots orgs. I'm a fighting game community guy myself, so this was kind of one of my visions, right, is to provide a platform for local community growth, not just focusing on the big fish, right? It is a smaller part of our revenue source, but still it's important, right? It's part of why we are so authentic. For us, we partner with these groups and allow them to utilize our facility through partnership deals, right? And there's certain parameters on how those work, but what we do is we give them access to technology, space, base all of our resources from a marketing perspective or sales side, and we allow them to actually grow, because what they're doing is now you have Overwatch communities, you have Street Fighter and Smash communities, right? It's important to actually give them a foundation for growth, so that way, really, it's a rise with the tide type thing. That's always important with esports, right? So we volunteer our facility for these smaller groups to actually build upon and create better, bigger, and more professional-looking events.
So totally agree with that, and we do a lot of similar outreach to the community. I think one of the things when we were building the arena here in Las Vegas, it was a touch worrisome when in most meetings we had, people would say, hey, you're never going to get locals to come to the Strip, right? They don't want to pay for parking or everything like that, and we heard all of those excuses, and we knew that, we thought coming in that might be a challenge, but we've been pretty successful about giving the local community a platform and a place to be, to call it home, and also grow it, right? Grow it and give them access to VOD content for their own channels for them to share, et cetera, like that. So the way we can support in that way is being that home and venue for them, but also, to your point, technology, content sharing, and how do we grow it? I think one of the most interesting ones for us, you wouldn't necessarily put this in the esports category, has been our Saturday night program, which is Mario Kart. Right? We have people that drive from Los Angeles every Saturday night to participate in a Mario Kart tournament. We thought it would just be a fun thing to do that would kind of bridge the gap with gaming and just the typical visitor in Las Vegas, low barrier to entry, and it's become one of our most successful and most fun evenings. And we built a community out of it, which has been pretty exciting, and now that's a burgeoning growth community here in Las Vegas.
Tell Gutex I said hi.
All right, I think that's pretty much it. So how about we give a round of applause to these amazing speakers, and thank you for tolerating my awkwardness.